cannot speak at the moment, maybe you can put in the chat, just introduce yourself and what you are looking for at the moment. That would be helpful for us to make this a productive meeting.
If you'd like, I could start.
Okay, Jacob, why don't you go ahead?
How are you? Last year I graduated with my bachelor's in marketing, and I started a 5-year program. So I'm doing my master's in data analytics currently, and I'll be graduating in August. Out of the competition, we actually recently came across it, and we're looking to expand the data analytics program and all the activities that we're involved in. So that's sort of how this started, how we wanted to build the team to participate. And yeah, I've never really had any practical experience with data analytics. All my experience has been in the classroom, and I've never done a competition of this sort, so I'm excited to get into it.
Awesome. You come to the right platform for that. So great. Now, do you have a team yet, Jacob? Are you looking for teammates?
We're gonna split up into 2 teams, I think, for LIU. I think we have enough for 2 teams. So yeah.
Okay, good. Well, 2 teams. That's actually a good arrangement. Good. So next in here I have Padmana. Did I say it right? Padmana Butala. How about Momedi Rakskudu? Momedi Waza Rakudu.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, my name is Mohamedi, but I go by Waza. I go to Simon Business School, and really excited to join this competition. Really part of the business program, and yeah, I just have some questions regarding the data set and looking to get those clarified.
We are very excited when students come with questions, so everybody can be benefit from that. And Fahab is also sharing his info here. He's a student from Long Island. Wonderful. So we have a non-IT or non-Rochester students, and also questions on the data set. Great. So we get to questions in a minute. Just making sure that we understanding what is the need for the groups here. Joseph Pelambi, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us where you are in the competitions.
Absolutely. Hey everyone, it's nice to meet you all. My name is Joseph Palumbi. I'm a student at the Simon Business School who's studying business analytics. Being a part of this case competition was really important for me because it's the first one that I'm ever doing. And, you know, like someone had previously said before, a lot of our experience, you know, in the program for business analytics has been in the classroom. So this is kind of the first opportunity to kind of apply our skills outside of it. So really just excited to be able to do that, and also, you know, ask questions regarding the objective and the data set.
Okay, good, great. All right, great. Look like you already have some explorations stepped done. So that's good. Vera Arebola.
Hi everyone. I'm also from LIU. I'm a grad student. I graduated last year with a bachelor degree in accounting. I'm doing my master's in data analytics, and this would also be my first like kind of real experience, I guess. But I'm really excited to apply what I've learned so far.
Good. Are you looking for teammates? Do you have a team yet?
No, as Jacob said, I think we'll have 2 teams from LIU, so we should be fine.
Okay, good. Sahil
Chaudhary, yes. Hi everyone. Thank you for doing this. I am a student at Simon Business School. Also master's in business analytics. Also my first business analytics case competition. Key objective here is to learn how these analytical competitions go, and I'm looking forward to the report and the presentation part of it as well. Great opportunity. Thank you for hosting this. I'm mainly looking to get some of my questions answered in terms of the understanding the data set better, so we can carry on with our analysis, the subsequent presentation. Happy to be here. I also have a few of my teammates here as well. So thank you so much. Great to meet you all.
Glad you're here.
Glad you're here.
Yep.
Who else are your teammates here?
Waza, Joseph, Aditi. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe Aditi, you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, sure. I'm also studying business analytics at Simon Business School, and I think it would be a great learning experience to take part in this case competition, and looking forward to asking few questions and looking forward to your presentation.
Good, good. Welcome. And then Chang Li.
Hello everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm from RIT China, and I'm a first-year undergraduate majoring in MAS. And I already have a team. The gold medal analysis team will continue to take part in this round. And now we have made some progress. Today, I will represent our team to get some guidance. Thanks.
That's great.
Thanks for being here. I know it's like 1 o'clock or something like that.
I was gonna say, you
Yeah.
stayed up late.
So, good commitment. And last but not least, Harshita.
Hello everyone, I'm Harshita. I'm doing my master's in data science in RIT. I did participate in round 1, so I'm excited to participate in round 2 and learn more things. So yeah,
Great.
I'm looking for.
Awesome.
Did your team do very well in round 1, Harshita?
Yeah, we won in round 1. So
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah,
That's what I thought. And
Yeah.
Chang Li's team also won an award, as I recall,
Yes.
yeah.
from round 1.
So just to give everyone a clear message that round 1 is not requirement for round 2.
Right.
And we build it so that if you only participate now for round 2, it doesn't really hinder you if you don't have any round 1 participations.
And the prizes are bigger,
Yes.
if that's why you're here.
We start with the conversations about different teams so that it gives us an ideas about who is currently in the competitions. Like last round, we have a very good turnout.
Yeah.
And so we add in an additional prize on top of what we were spending. So now we see that a lot more students from outside of Rochester areas also participating. So that gives us an idea about what kind of additional price we may add into the already planned prices.
Yeah.
So without further ado, maybe let's start with the questions. Should we do go over to the challenge or?
Yeah, maybe let's say a word about the challenge at a high level and then go straight to the question.
Yeah, so I'm gonna set
Yeah.
screen in here. So for those of you who are brand new, there you go. This is round 2 of the competitions. In round 2, we focus on a specific data set. Last round, there's 2 data sets. This round, only 1 data set. And that data set is related to a hotel. So this is a hotel, GHR hotels. The data have the 2015 through 17. There's information specifically about the hotel itself. The location is revealed to the students. And here's the challenge. It's so important that we have to stress that this is a business analytics competitions. So we actually build the challenge in the way that predictions, modeling is only a part of it. You do have to bring in your business interpretations and reasonings for the challenging implication of the data analysis to make your case strong and relevant to the judges.
Yeah, I want to reemphasize that because a number of people said this is your first competition. This one is a little different than some of the other data-oriented competitions. We are emphasizing not only the modeling and predictability, as Professor Neo said, but also your ability to convince people, persuade people, build a business case that is compelling around your analytic work. So there are definitely two sides to this.
The outcomes of interest in here is potential revenues, and is divided into three different areas. One is revenues from the hotel stays, how the hotels make money from the reservations from customers. Then potential revenue loss from free upgrades, and potential revenue loss from last minute cancellations. Okay. So if you're interested in predictions, you can predict where the free upgrades happened. What factors driving the free upgrades? So that is one part of it, is requiring you to do predictions. But the other two, you can actually build and answer those two questions or two areas using descriptive analytics or some very simple statistical models like regressions. So therefore, we strongly think that this way, even students who is the first year can make impressive solutions, not just people who is very far and advanced in their data science or business analytics educations. So that is an overview of the competitions. Any question at this point in terms of the format, how it structures, what we are looking for? Yes.
Situation, are we acting like consultants this whole time?
Yes, so you are acting as a consultant for the hotel. There are two things we require you. So one is a report. So make sure that when you write the report, you're writing the reports for your client. In this case, the hotels. That's why we keep emphasizing that your reports, your analysis has to show strong strategic implications to the client. So we say somewhere in here that the outcome or objective in here is data-driven strategies. You analyze the data, but what does it mean strategically for your client? That is what we emphasize on. And then yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you want to finish and then I'll ask my question?
Yeah, so and then in the second part, then there's a smaller group of the people or teams will be selected for a presentation. So not all teams do presentations. So make sure that you understand that there's two sets of, how to say, of judges that you have to talk to. The first group of judges are professors, like Professor Perotti and me and the other professors, who would then judge you on your technical sophistications of your analysis, and also whether you can draw the strategic implications. Then in the next presentation round, that's when you have to talk to a different set of judges. Now that's one is going to be more of business people, business executive who are going to judge you. So you have to be mindful about who's the nature of the judges when evaluate your submissions. Question online?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask who judges the rounds and how that works. So you actually just answered it.
Yeah. So the immediate, go ahead.
I also had a question. So like, I just found out about this competition this week, and I haven't had time to look at the data set. I was wondering from now until the next meeting we have, would we be able to reach out to someone and ask questions regarding the data set and the competition in general?
Yes, so I am so it's a contact point for the competitions. You can find my information in the competition website. Let's make sure that in here that people know where is it. So if you have any questions, send me an email and I will then answer it. If it's a question that requires the whole judge team, then I will share it with everybody else and get the consensus before I send it out. If it's something that is simple, then I can just simply answer myself. So if you scroll all the way down, there's a contact us. So this is my information. You can email me.
Great.
Now,
and then I just have.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I was
I just have one more question as well.
Yeah, let me finish one more thought. At the moment,
Oh.
this is the only technical workshop that we planned.
Yeah.
However, if we see that there's a more demand for a second technical workshop, we are more than happy to accommodate that. So if you feel that there's need for more, send me an email, and if there's enough team to do that, I will do that.
Yeah.
For example, we have a lot of teams from China who cannot make it to this. Then I do a separate technical workshop for that team, so that they can participate. So again, if you feel that teams feel that there's need to have another one, then we are more than happy to accommodate that. Okay. Sorry for the interruptions. Go ahead with the questions.
No worries. Thank you for the information. So I had a question on top of our technical analysis, should we include external sources for the hotel / hospitality industry in our reports for the executives?
For both, I would say you are invited to do additional research that you think strengthens your argument, makes it more persuasive, complements the data that you found. So absolutely, you are welcome to go and find information.
Yeah.
It could be information about the hotel industry. It could be information about European hotels, or we mentioned the idea of festivals in hotels. The data sets from 2017, there's a link on the screen right now to some festivals in the area that might impact the attendance at these hotels. So yeah, you're invited to bring whatever information you want to. I looked at my screen. This is Jacob talking. Thank you, Jacob, for your question.
And we as a judge really award those kind of creativity. For example, in the last round, there's one particular team that bring in the data from Brazil to indicate that there's a reason why there's a spike from Brazil's hotel guests in a specific month, right? So those are the kind of things that we really like, and we award the teams for that additional creative analysis.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good questions.
Okay. All right. So I think I also have a question in the chat. So let me bring it up in here. So someone's Fahad from Long Island. A question on the data set. The website mentioned the list monthly event.
So the question is the 2017 data representative of the period of time from the data set? And I think that's a good assumption. But as we just mentioned, Jacob, if you want to do more research yourself, you are welcome to do that.
So I would say you do want to check on 15 and 17, 2015 and 16 events. There will be some event that is annual, and there's some event that is one time off. So that is a good one to check which one is annual and whether those annual event has any correlations to the number of guests. Any other questions?
Hello, Professor.
Yeah.
So when we say that customer is upgraded, does that mean that customer will get upgraded from deluxe room type to executive, or if like changing the room from A to B is also considered an upgrade?
So but this is a little bit subjective interpretations in here, because when the hotel upgrade, they change from the original room, reserved room type to a different one. In most of the case, it's A to B, A to C. So another one that is above that. There are a few smaller number, if I remember correctly, it's actually go down.
That's right.
So you would have to check what is going on in those situations.
So I would think that's an open question, I guess, to say it very directly. I don't think you should only look at those where we go from an ABC to an executive suite. I would at least be open to the possibility that some of the upgrades are a loss of potential revenue that's going from A to B or A to C.
Yeah.
It's really a data question. You can determine, are we losing money on those upgrades or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, Professor. I actually had one question myself regarding the ADR.
Yes,
So, obviously, I know the dictionary for all the terms is listed in the PDF, but I wanted to ask, how does the ADR actually work? Is it just what's shown as the rate when the booking is made, or is it the actual money that's gained by the hotel?
based on my analysis, it's the latter. It's not the rate that was advertised to the person. If they sign up for a fancy meal package, the ADR goes up, that sort of a thing.
Okay. And one more question that I had as well. So when it comes to the transient and transient party in customer types, what exactly does that mean?
If you look at the definition, transient type, I remember is the one that is pass by short term. Let's take a look. Right here. So booking is not part of a group or contact and is not associated to other transients booking. So this is the individual, if I understand it
I think so too,
correctly,
yeah.
If I
It's
remember
a
correctly.
sort of a one-off booking.
But the other one is contract and groups. So contract is obviously in advance booking, and then group we have a big groups discount. So transient is like you and me going to hotels.
Yep.
It's
Or if there's a wedding party, you'll set up a
yeah.
group or a contract, that sort of a thing. So this is one-off.
one-off kind of
Yeah.
visit.
Joseph, did we answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Great, sure. Please feel free to just jump in. We can't see the Zoom screen very well as we're looking at the.
Just a follow-up question, if I may.
You may.
Yeah. On the ADR, so as you answered that, when you said it's the latter, so I'm wondering if all the special requests and all the adjustments are actually reflected on the ADR. So for example, if a person gets upgraded from A to E, so the information we have on the ADR is correctly reflects that upgrade as well. It's encompasses all type of upgrades and special requests in the ADR.
That's my understanding,
Yeah.
yes. It is a sort of a retroactive look at what was the daily cost to the individual that's paying, I guess.
Right. Thank you so
Has
much.
anybody tried to predict the ADR from the other variables? If you want to have some fun, do that. It's not easy. It's not what we're asking you to do, but it shows the complexity of the ADR. Sahil, did we answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Next contestant.
So I do have that email from the other student, maybe bring it up.
Yeah.
So I do have so you guys keep thinking about your questions. I do have a student that sent me a list of questions. I think it's worth to share with the whole group.
Yeah, these are pretty deep.
So it's done.
Oh, well, Professor Bui finds that, I'll read the first part of the question, which is for the no-show policy. This is coming from.
I'm just gonna show It's in the Word document.
Yeah, good. First question is, could you please elaborate on how a no-show is defined within the context of our data? Specifically, if a guest has booked to stay for 5 days but only appears on the second day, does this scenario qualify as a no-show? Additionally, I'm curious about the financial implications of such no-shows. How is the deduction managed? Is it a full charge, no deduction, or is it treated like a last-minute cancellation with a one-day room charge?
So you can see the answer here. So no show is treated as last minute cancellation. Let me show the video of those in the group. So the customer for no show will charged one night stay. It is set in the PowerPoint and in the data set that all of the guests do communicate in advance the reason why they're not showing. So we can assume that they know what happened and they're okay with the 1 day's charged. Now, if the guest booked for 5 days, but they shot in the second day, then that is not a no-show. That is simply a late check-in. You can assume that in those cases, the customer contact the hotel in advance and say that we're going to arrive, let's say 1 or 2 days later than expected. And that actually happened quite a bit because of travel issues, right?
Number 2 is about the deposit policy. I'll read it. Regarding the deposit, is it required to cover the full amount of the stay, or is it calculated as a percentage of the total cost? If it's the latter, could you provide details? You can read Professor Bui's response there, but basically this is unknown.
Yeah.
It's not safe to assume that it's the full cost, nor are we going to specify a particular percentage.
Yes. We don't know the exact information on that. We know that in the industry, the standard is 1 to 3 days. That's how much the industry will do. But we don't know the exact policy for this hotel. So this actually also relevant to number 3 here. Right? So for no refundable bookings, so the question is whether the non-refundable policy take precedence over the standard cancellation policy. Specifically, in case of non-refundable bookings, does that mean that no refund is issued regardless of how far in advance the cancellation is made? So the answer to this is yes. No refund policies usually happens when the customer apply to a room with a fixed rate and they agree, to get a fixed rate, usually a discount rate, then they pay a prepaid amount in advance. So if the customer cancel or no show in this case, then they will lose that prepaid amount. So this is a very common practice in the hotel industries. It's also listed in the policy of the hotels.
Last question's about early room cancellations, like not at the last minute. And the question basically said, should this scenario be considered as a loss in the analysis, or is it more like unsold inventory? And Professor Bui's response is unsold inventory, which I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Other people have the opportunity to book that if there's time.
Those also are, I think, questions that was go through because I think it's going to be relevant to a lot of teams. Let's see if there's any other questions.
I also want to make sure our colleagues, Professor Tosiali and Professor Tang, have an opportunity to chime in if they want to add anything to our responses or want to offer advice to the teams.
Yeah, thank you, Neo and Victor. Yeah, I think I just want to stress out one more time that like this is not a data-centric competition, it's gonna be business-centric competition. So I think like when they like present their results or their findings, they should be careful about like interpreting their findings from a business-centric perspective.
I actually have another question.
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
I was going to say
So,
the reason I keep stretching that because in the judging we see a few teams that did wonderful job in terms of their coding. They have very long and elaborate Python codes to analyze analysis, but the report is very lackluster and it's such a pity that we cannot really advance them further. So we just want to straight a point that you can impress us with your code and your analysis, but if your report doesn't deliver your meaningful interpretations, then that would not advance you very far.
I like the word
Yeah.
persuasive.
Yeah, also like you can have like wonderful results like findings, but if a non-technical decision maker cannot understand it, there's no point.
Yep.
Jacob, you was having a questions?
Professor Tosciali actually answered just now. I was gonna ask if we should include, like, obviously to a certain degree the aspect of our technical analysis, but probably the way I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, is included a little bit, so like the so that the decision maker gets like an idea of what you did and how you did it, but in general just keep it more towards, because we got this result, perform X, Y, and Z, or implement X, Y, and Z.
So
We want it all, Jacob.
yes. So I would say that we want all of it. So you have to be smart in terms of how you do the report, Jacob. In the report here, what we are looking for, right? So if you look at the requirements, it's mostly try to help the readers to understand what's going on and what is the result of it. But you do need to have an appendix section that provide all of those technical details. How did you come up with certain things? Right. And this set of appendix is not counted toward the page count. So I think utilize that to really drive home the fact that you have a very, very sophisticated analysis. That's why I say that for the first round, the judges are very technical. We all teach business analytics classes in one way or another, so we can and we appreciate those kind of appendix, those kind of technical details. Another one is that we do require that when you submit, all of the accompanying analysis files should be submitted in a way that we can then run it and verify your result. So to answer the questions, you have to write your report in the way that it showcases your abilities to interpret the analysis, right? But you do have to include your technical execution in the appendix or a little bit in the report one way or another, so we can evaluate that.
Right. Just to say it in a different way, I think when you're writing for the business audience, your sophisticated data analysis is part of your persuasion. You're saying, look, I did this remarkable thing, and this is why we believe that the best strategy is X versus Y. The technical work is present in the appendix, as Professor Bui said, and we would like you to submit it to us in a way that we can replicate your results. We can run the code in R, Python, or Excel, or what it is that you have used in order to get similar results to those that you're sharing with your business audience.
Yeah. So to give you an example, right? Let's say in your analysis in the report, you can say we apply these techniques to address an unbalanced data set.
Yeah.
We apply these techniques to account for multicollinearities. We apply these techniques to account for missing data. So we apply these techniques to apply for this issues, right? So you can list those. So at least from a business perspective, we know that okay, you did a very good, thorough job in terms of analyze and cleaning the data, right? But you don't have to show us in the report exactly the code or exactly the step you involve, right? Those can be the in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
It's about the storytelling. Right? You have to give enough for the business to understand, to have for them to be persuaded about what you did and have a confidence in your analysis.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. We would welcome more questions.
Professor, in the scenario where the customer cancels like prior, that is advance cancellation, and the deposit type is non-refundable, like should we assume that hotels get to keep the deposit? Like in the sense of revenue?
You have to say it very slowly because my brain.
Oh, I think I got it. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe it's not a perfect assumption. So the question is, I booked in advance, I booked something that's non-refundable, and then I canceled, right?
Yeah.
Does our hotel get to keep that non-refundable money? I think maybe that's the definition of
That's a
non-refundable. I mean,
non-refundable, yeah.
maybe so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to make assumptions, but that seems like a fairly reasonable one.
Yeah, because non-refundable is, so you have to, this is understanding about hotel, right? There are fixed rate and a flexible rate. So flexible rate is account in the ADR. Now, a lot of times the fixed rate is when hotels has a discount that they really want to lock in to make sure they don't have unused inventories. And for those are non-refundable. So if you even cancel really in advance, you still lost that amount.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's put the timeline up. I'm looking for that right now.
Yes.
And I think.
So I have the timelines in here.
So the deadline for your submissions is the 8th of March, which is coming up in a few weeks, obviously. Having had such good participation today, for the people in the room and for the people here on Zoom, do you imagine that you would benefit from another get-together like this, another Zoom session where you ask questions in the future?
Yeah, I think at least I would.
Okay.
So for the next time, I think maybe do a Zoom.
Yeah.
Purely so that
Yeah.
we can be more flexible in terms of time.
Yeah, good.
That allows students from international and also different time
Good idea.
zones can participate.
Good.
We do have students from China saying that this is a little bit too late for them.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, we look into that and we send out emails update to those who sign up for the updates. Yeah. So maybe so let's take a look in here. So this is 16. The deadline is 8. So maybe beginning of the 26th. Is this too close or?
That's after the deadline.
No, this is 16. This is February. The deadline is the 8th.
Okay.
So we have 1, 2, 3 more weeks.
Yep.
So half point will be sometimes in 26, 27, somewhere there. So we do sometimes in the morning of either the 26 or 27.
Sounds good.
So from now till then, team has more time to do analysis.
Yeah, get a little closer. If you generate more questions between now and then, that would be a good thing. But what we said earlier is also the case. You could reach out to Professor Bui or myself. His email contact information is at the bottom of the page, and we will be available for questions as they come.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
And don't be afraid to bring your technical questions too.
Right.
In the past, we have students who say, oh, how do we address unbalanced data set issues? And we did give students pointers for that. We cannot, of course, give you code or anything. Yeah. But we can give you advices on, okay, is this package, is this a good one to do, or should you consider a different approach?
Yeah, part of our vision is indeed this is a technical workshop where you ask technical questions. Perhaps the next one will be even more so.
And I do want to remind people that there's an email in here. If you scroll to route 2, so this is the email btp@saunders.iit.edu. For those of you who still looking for teammates, send email to that. They maintain a list of students who are looking for teammates. So they can help you to hook up to the right persons.
Final questions, remarks?
All right, so I think this has been a very fruitful discussions. So we stop here. We will send out email on the exact date and time for the next workshop. So from now till then, get together with your team, start to do more analysis, and you can ask the questions in the next one. Or if you're eager, send me an email, and then I do answer it in advance. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
That's it for us today. Thank you, everyone. Good luck and have fun in your company.
Yeah, have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very